Productivity, time management, to-do lists, calendars. If you still think that's where it's at when it comes to time management and getting ahead in your business, we've got some talking to do. If you're like most entrepreneurs, that's where you fall. But what if I told you that's completely wrong? There's a better way that's going to alleviate the pressure that you feel to get all the things done and that will actually move the needle in your business. By the end of this video, you will have the actual tools you need to rethink time management as a whole. Hey, I'm Liz. I help overwhelmed entrepreneurs become visionary CEOs of their businesses so that they can get beyond the busy and step into their big next, because your business should be a blessing, not a burden. Overvaluing productivity over prioritization. I fell deep into the trap of thinking that getting more done was the key to success. Like, I thought that if I jam-packed my days and I was more productive, the sheer volume of how much I was doing was ultimately going to lead to compound effect and more would be accomplished, and that would ultimately equal success. Quick little spoiler alert, it does not. In fact, it's the perfect recipe for maintenance. If you have a goal, which I don't often hear, to stay stuck exactly where you are, to like plateau and maintain exactly where you're at, keep embracing this strategy of pushing and getting more done. I did this for years and I kept wondering, why am I stuck? I would try new strategies. I would hire the coaches. I would do all the things, but no one was addressing this issue. In fact, if anything, they were telling me to double down on productivity. I do way less and we have grown massively in the numbers, not just productivity, but progress and profitability, prosperity, meaning how it then comes from my business and pours into me and my family. The cost is going to be your calling. It is going to be your quality of life. It is going to be your relationships and your health. I suffered from what got passed around to all these doctors, autoimmune, this, that, for years. And it was just, I was living in go mode, trying to get to some metric in my business that would, quote, finally give me freedom, and none of it was happening. And instead of building my vision, I was just drowning in the details and in the minutia, and there was no way out. Being productive doesn't matter if you're not working on the right priorities. And I learned to identify my $1 million tasks, right? My most high leverage moves, and live there. And also the things that are most in my sweet spot. So let's talk about the second mistake I was making on repeat, and that was treating my calendar like a democracy. I used to think that my time belonged to whoever needed it most. I said yes to meetings. I said yes to calls. I said yes to client questions and text messages at 11 p.m. at night, and favors, and giving everyone equal access to me and my calendar. Does that sound familiar? How did that unfold for me? Well, let me tell you, I let my days get completely hijacked by low leverage meetings and interactions and conversations, which if you stick around and watch this next video that'll pop up here on the screen soon, you want to watch this next video because we're talking specifically about meetings and how they are a major pain point for entrepreneurs and how we need to fix that. Watch the next video. But in the meantime, I want to tell you, my agenda was not my own. And when your agenda is not your own, when your schedule is not your own, your vision is no longer your own. You are no longer on the trajectory to where you think you're going. Like what you say you're working so hard for is no longer where you're headed. I meet entrepreneurs that have been doing that for decades and they had no awareness of it. They're like, isn't this just running a business? Isn't this just what I have to do? No, actually it's not. In fact, it's what you should stop doing. This became kind of an aha for me when I realized my best energy was going to other people's demands and questions instead of my mission. And the other thing I was doing is I was creating a bunch of like people that had no confidence, and I wasn't empowering anybody because they had to go through me to get the answer or the result that they needed. So I was never training people to say, oh, let's build the system or let's have the conversation so you're equipped with what you need to go do the thing so that it doesn't ever have to come through me, and I can just believe in you and you're better at this than I am, and we become a cohesive team. It's a whole conversation around team. How are you empowering your people, and how are you giving them the space to grow into who they're called to be through your vessel? And the cost of this for me was my progress on my biggest goals and burnout that just sucked, like feeling unfulfilled. I learned to design my schedule as the business owner like an actual visionary CEO. This is something that I teach. We have a tool called the Visionary CEO Schedule Template. And it's something that you can take and customize for yourself, but this is where I had to start, right? Like I had to identify, one, I had to audit where I was losing all the time, but I was also having to look at like, where should it be going? And how do I want to run the show? And how do I want to have touch points with other people so that we are progressing as a team? And I wanted to do it in a way that aligned with my vision and my ability to say no to the misaligned things and be able to go all in on the yeses. Because do you ever feel like you're just kind of failing in everything? Like you're just like half-heartedly doing everything and you can't really step into this next big level because you're like, I feel like I'm kicking 20 soccer balls down the field at the same time. Grab this free resource, Visionary CEO Schedule Template. It's going to be down in the description. My third mistake, mismanaging my energy. So often we think time management is the key to success, right? Time management is the key to productivity and getting more done. I had no idea that the elite players look at their energy management. There's way less on my schedule. I am doing way less and making more than 5 times more than I was just a couple of years ago because I've gotten so laser focused on the right things and I've leveraged the right energy that I have at certain times in the day for the right tasks and for the right things. Time isn't my most valuable resource. Like we say this, it's the non-renewable resource. I've said this. If you go back and watch old stuff or listen to old podcasts, I said that all the time. And it is a super valuable resource, but your energy actually is more important. I used to structure my days based on what fit, right? Like, oh, well, what's their schedule? So I'll take the meeting in the morning instead of what matched my energy levels. And I learned that I'm way more clear-minded and energized at a certain block of the day. Usually for me, it's between like 9 a.m. and noon. And I had meetings falling during that time. So I was giving my best, most clear, focused energy to meetings that didn't even really have an agenda. So they drag on. Again, watch the next video. I'll break that down for you. And then I was saving like the creative work that I had to do that was actually going to move the needle, like writing my book or creating podcast outlines or recording or whatever it might be. I was saving it for times of the day where I was totally drained and crashing. It was taking me 10 times longer. You ever done that? Like where you're absolutely exhausted and you just sit down and you even try to write a social media post and you feel like you're going cross-eyed and you're like, why is this taking 2 hours? But you're inspired and a thought pops into your head during a different time of the day and you drop it into your notes on, the app on your phone. It took you 2 seconds because you were just like, it was right there. That's the difference. So when I started paying attention to my energy cycles, right? Like my energy, how my energy worked throughout the day, it was usually pretty patternistic and pretty predictable. And I noticed that morning block was my peak time. So now I don't take a meeting before noon ever. It's not a thing. I also don't have meetings every day. I have meetings on specific days in specific blocks of time based specifically on my energy. And this mistake at the time, before I paid attention to it, it was costing me my time and my momentum and my creativity and production. I thought I was in growth mode. You guys, for years, I thought I was in growth mode. I was stuck. So time management, it's really about energy management. And I align my work with my natural energy. Mornings are for the deep, focused, creative work. This is true for me. Like every industry is going to be a little different. And then I shift how I do things. Now, the Visionary CEO Schedule challenges you to think in terms of your energy. Your efficiency block, which is one of the blocks that I teach that it will literally change your life in a week, is in that template. It is specifically challenging you to do the efficiency block in a zone where you're not at your peak energy. In the next video, I want to talk about how to stop wasting time in meetings as an entrepreneur and specifically what they should look like so that your business grows. Let me know in the comments. Where was the aha for you? Let's keep building your big next together.